Welcome back to Permission Slip Granted. This month we're diving into a fresh new theme, what feeds you? And we're kicking things off this week by exploring how creativity isn't just about making art.
But when I'm in it, I'm like the rest of the world does not exist. I lose myself while I'm in those moments of creativity. I'm not looking for a compliment, but I'm like, I did that.
How much as adults we tend to box in creativity. Years when people would tell me, oh, you're so creative. In my head, I was very much, no, it's dissertation day. It's dissertation day. There are many different ways
to
be creative.
Your spark can come from somebody else's creativity. This is a theme that we always talk about. To put in the practice, put in the skill, and it gets better over time.
Remember that your art, your creativity, your expression doesn't have to be like anyone else's. One allows connection, the other doesn't.
Let's just delete this word. I am all for it.
We can gain from the creative process, whatever the method is.
To trusting yourself over time.
Get rid of the comparison, throw away the idea of perfect.
If you're new here, we're so glad that you found us, and we want to say welcome. And if you're one of our regulars, thank you for coming back. Your support means everything to us. So let's explore how tapping into your creative energy can bring you back to yourself and ignite something powerful within. Let's get into it.
Welcome, everyone. It is a new month, which means a new topic for us here at Permission Slip Granted. This month, we are going to be talking about what feeds you. And why this is important is that as you are moving forward in your healing journey, in your life journey, paying attention to the things that give you energy is really important for those days where you are feeling low, because then you can go back and draw on these pieces that will help you lift that energy and continue moving forward. So we have a couple of conversations that we want to talk about regarding what feeds us, and maybe these will spark some ideas for you as well. Hello, Kristen.
Hi.
Hey. So what are we talking about today?
Yeah, so today is we're coming up with the themes for the month, and we're going to kick off with creativity, our own internal creativity, and what sparks interest in your own creativity, right? Because I believe everybody's different, and unfortunately, we're missing two of our hosts today, not feeling well, but we might reintroduce this topic later down the road to get their perspectives as well.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, I last night. We also had a group of girls that we asked this question, and a lot of people didn't know. And I love this. What connects you to yourself question, specifically in getting to know yourself in that whole awareness piece when you're on a healing journey, when you're trying to get past something. And I really believe creativity is super paramount to just any joy that you can connect to in life, right?
Agreed.
So that's for me. Okay. I was like, that's my own take on it. And I believe when you're in that moment, I don't know about you, but when I'm in it, I'm like the rest of the world does not exist. And I'm so focused in whatever it is that I'm doing at the moment, because that is all the energy that I'm giving.
Yeah.
And I'm choosing to give into each thing that I'm creating, whether it's my cooking or I really like I don't know if I don't know if I ever shared this, but when I first started college, I started as a graphic designer. And we can talk about why I left in another episode, but I still love, I forgot how much I love that. And like last year, I started reconnecting with that part of myself. And I know that sometimes I trigger my husband because I get so deep into it. I'm like, I love it. I love, like, it takes me, I got to find the right color or the right font or whatever it is, with that. And I lose myself while I'm in those moments of creativity. What about you?
Well, I will totally answer your question, but I had a quick follow-up about specifically that moment or those moments where you are kind of lost in the creative juju. Do you tend to come out of those moments feeling drained or feeling energized?
No, it's more like I'm pumped.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I just did that. And then I feel like if you think about those of you who have kids, I know you have kids and I have kids, but when they come and they created a masterpiece in their mind and they're so on fire to show you,
Yeah.
you know that they spent their time and their energy, and the elation that they get when they show somebody else. I mean, it's hard for me to be like, oh my God, I love it. And, because you don't want to feed that ego of looking for external validation. And I
Right.
always like lead with that question, like, oh, what made you decide to make that? Tell me about this picture. But for me, I feel the same childlike elation when I'm done with something and I want to show somebody and I would be like, look what I did. I'm not looking for a compliment, but I'm like, I did that,
Yeah.
you know?
No, I
Yeah.
love
So,
that. Yeah. So, what's coming up for me as you're talking about that, because I promise I will get back to the main topic here, a little ADHD side quest, but my youngest just auditioned for the advanced choirs at his middle school. And we had to do an audition video. And that was a beautiful moment. We can unpack in another episode as well. But I did not know how much it meant to him, because we were a little bit late in the audition process. So we happened to find out the next day after we submitted the video. She was basically just waiting on us. Yay! But he got into the advanced treble choir because, he's in middle school. That's where his voice range is at right now. And so I didn't know how excited, number one, he was to get into any of the choirs, how much he specifically wanted the treble choir, because I wasn't sure, him being a boy, would that be an issue? He was on fire with excitement. Like, I got a text from my friend who picked him up that day because I was working. Oh my gosh, he's telling me all about how he got into treble choir. He is so happy that you called him and didn't wait until you got home from work. And he was telling Nana, and he was right, like for days.
yeah,
He would
it's
just have this little wiggle moment, and I would say, "Oh, what's going on?" He's like, "I just thought about treble choir, and I'm so excited." So it's just interesting to me how much I feel like as adults, this is leading into your original question, how much as adults we tend to box in creativity. When people, for years, when people would tell me, "Oh, you're so creative," in my head, I was very much, no, I'm not. Because in my very black and white autistic brain, creativity was visual arts. Right. And I, at that time, wouldn't have considered myself an artist, with air quotes there, because I didn't do anything visually. Now, for people who don't know me, and to give context, I'm a singer. I have been my entire life. I've been paid to sing professionally. So this is not like just a little hobby of mine. This is a huge piece of me and my identity.
Yeah.
And here I was reducing that as not something that was creative. And so I've had this mixed relationship with creativity for the last 5 to 7 years, because a friend finally bottom lined me. Again, that's a coaching term, basically just challenging beliefs for you.
Yeah.
Who said, no, I'm actually not going to accept that you think you aren't creative, because look at all this. And beyond just the expression through singing, I will often rewrite lyrics to songs for whatever, and spur of the moment. And it really is just what comes to me. But like that particular friend, I had rewritten the lyrics of "For the First Time in Forever"
I need to hear those.
It's so funny. I didn't save them, and I don't remember.
Oh, dang it. You're so good at that.
The only piece I do remember is because she was getting ready to do her dissertation, because she was getting her PhD. And that's a huge fucking accomplishment. Yeah. And I had been with her that entire time. And what came to me, what sparked it in the first place, was the beginning of the song where she's like, "Oh, it's dissertation day. It's dissertation day," right? Like that was what.
Oh my God, I love that.
And I don't even remember where I went from there, but it was all about her having to go before the panel and present her dissertation and all of the hours and but it just came to me, and then I sent her a voice recording of it, right? And moved on with my life. And so she's coming back now to this, like, you basically rewrote a song for me about my dissertation. That is creative. That is a huge creative piece. And so then it became for me this conversation around, well, I didn't write the song. So in my head, it still wasn't creative because I didn't write the song. I was just swapping in lyrics. So I really want to challenge listeners to check in with yourself about creativity. Are you limiting in your own mind the ways in which you show up creatively within your life. I would even go so far, as I continued to unpack this and began to accept that no, that is creative. Right. And
Yeah.
it's not like I'm stealing because I'm not trying to make that song my own. I'm just putting a spin on it. I'm doing a cover, a parody. Right.
Yeah.
Uh, it gave me more courage to try visual arts. So I actually have a couple of pieces hanging in my home. No, they're not going to ever be in the Louvre, right? But they are important to me. And I
Yeah.
love looking at the progression and being like, that was the first one I did. And then I did this, and then I did that. And
Yeah.
and like you said, but I liked that you said cooking, right? The way that we design our websites, the I would even go so
Hmm.
far as to say some of the spreadsheets that I get creative with, right? There
Yeah.
are many different ways that we
Yeah.
can be creative in our lives, and it doesn't have to be limited to just the visual.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that is so key and paramount is it doesn't have to be this binary thing. Right.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to be this or that. And I actually looked up the definition just because I wanted to give a little bit of context. I just gave the got the short definition, but creativity is the ability to generate original ideas, solutions, or expressions by thinking beyond conventional boundaries. And yeah, and so it's something that came up for me too is like you said, I didn't steal this song. I'm not going to like make it my like market it as it's my own. But my husband at one point said to me, which kind of like landed with me and like it's coming back up in this conversation because of the stealing, but it's like almost everybody's ideas was founded by another in like spark from somebody else,
Yeah,
right? So it's like your spark can come from somebody else's creativity and then you can run with that and make it even better sometimes or completely different or it just gets that engine going.
yeah,
So one thing I have to say is like you do have a creative way with words
mm,
and it's absolutely incredible. Like I literally envy that. Like I have to work so hard to figure out how do I make this rhyme or but the thing that comes naturally to me, which I know you struggle with is cooking.
yeah,
Like my daughter will come to me and say, Mommy, I want this kind of muffin. I'm like, okay, let's figure it out, and like I'm really good at putting ingredients together. So it's very different. Everybody's so different. And that's what I love about humanity in general. It's just the beauty that comes out when we allow ourselves to fully shine
yeah,
without limitations. Because I'm almost wondering something that like was said earlier was like kind of made me have this question. Are we limiting people's beliefs in themselves and their ability to create because of when we do get that elation and we want to share our creativity with somebody and somebody doesn't see it the same level that we do and we're giving our power away, then you stop being creative.
yeah.
I
I
feel
think
like that happens as adults.
absolutely. I would even go as far to say I think this is part of when, we've had conversations about when do kids stop
Mhm.
feeling so confident. And I think it's in that late childhood tween time frame
Mhm.
where they begin to recognize that external
Yeah.
validation and then internalize it as like, oh, well, maybe I shouldn't have been as excited about that piece of art because
Mhm.
maybe it isn't actually that good. So
Yeah.
I would challenge people, whether whatever age you are and you're listening to this, if you are not finding joy on a regular basis, take a look at creativity. Yes, some people you're going to just dive in, right? You're going to go take that cooking class. You're just going to go buy paints and canvas and start messing around with shit, right? If that's not
Yeah.
your vibe, start with reflection. Try to figure out, was there a time in my life where I was shut down, where
Yeah.
I felt like it wasn't good enough. And so then I stopped.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think if I can think about my own journey and just the last, so I've been on this 2 year like reconnecting with myself, separate from my marriage and my children. And because I know that a lot of myself was lost in, not intentionally, but I chose to be there for my family. And when I realized, like, wait, this isn't giving me the joy that I want in my life, I started this journey. And even connecting with my own creative self, I kind of had to let go a lot of, like, I have somebody who's near and dear to my heart. She's an artist and she teaches these paint and sip classes. And I've gone to a lot of them, and she's like my second mom. My kids call her Mammy, and she's an amazing, beautiful, inspiring lady. And I'm like, I cannot paint. Like, I was like, no, there's no way. But the more I do it, I would be like, I got this. Okay, I can do this. I can figure it out. My daughter, she's 5 right now, and she sits next to me and she's like, Mommy, how are you such a good drawer? And I was like, I've been drawing with you for the last 2 years. Like, it's just, I've learned with you, honey. And she goes, but you're so good. I was like, you'll get there too. But it's a skill that if it fills you up and you keep putting into it, it gets better over time. And I almost think that this is a theme that we always talk about, to put in the practice, put in the skill, and it gets better over time. But also allow yourself to be messy
Yeah.
and try something, right?
Right. Yeah. What's coming up that I'm remembering is, I'm fairly confident it was Michael Jordan who said this, but he was talking about kind of his journey in basketball. And I'm paraphrasing here, so this is not a direct quote, but he's talking about the dedication that's required to be excellent at something,
Mhm.
right? And he talked about having to put in at least 10,000 hours of practice in order to be excellent or an expert, or, that level of exceptional, right? And so I wonder if part of our challenges as adults is we haven't picked up a paintbrush in 20 years.
Mhm.
We make our first painting. It's not a Rembrandt. And so all of a sudden we think we can't paint. When in reality,
Yeah.
this was our first attempt. We now have 900 or 9,999 hours to go before we will really feel confident in our unique art style. And I think that's a second piece that I want to make sure people understand, is that, like, if you are trying to learn how to do an impressionistic art piece, then okay, yes, you are trying to learn a specific style. And remember that your art, your creativity, your expression doesn't have to be like anyone else's. You
Uh,
have unique gifts, right? I,
y-
I, I can share another story, but I feel like you had something you wanted to say.
Yeah, no, you just said it doesn't have to be like anybody else's. And I was just thinking of my 5-year-old, she would get so angry when she would make a mistake in her drawing. I'm using air quotes there because drawing at 5 is not like
Yeah.
drawing like something that's, I mean, it's like drawing a flower, drawing,
Yeah.
very simple pictures. But she had an idea of the way that it was supposed to look. And then she would get so mad when it didn't. And one of the things that I've learned to try to teach her, and again, my creativity is very limited when it comes to artistic things. Visually, I'm really not that good at it.
Yet.
Everybody's yet.
Mhm.
But what I am good at is I'm good at fixing the mistake and making it something else. So my daughter has now taken that and she'll be like, "Oh, it's okay. We can just make it a heart." I'm like, "Yes, yes,
Yes.
girl." Like, and removing this perfectionism while she's learning.
Mm-hmm.
And she's now, it's taken time. I can remember when she was 3 years old, she would just get so upset because her sister is significantly older than her and I'm more skilled than her and she can barely hold a pen. So she used to get so frustrated and not want to color with us. And then I literally turned around one day and she had set up everything and I was like, she's coloring. Oh, her sister's coloring. I was like, oh no, we're gonna have a fight. We're gonna have a minute. And they literally, it's so magical to see them now because they're like, oh, it's okay. I'll help you. And they both get involved with each other. And like the little one is now helping the older one too with certain things. And I was like, this is absolutely beautiful to see. Because
Mm.
if I would have shut them down and I would have said, oh no, start over. Oh yeah, that's terrible. Or if I would have made some sort of negative limiting comment on her own stuck moment that she was in, she was already having an elevated moment, right? So I think it's like sprinkling in like, here's a solution, but without a solution, if that makes sense. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
what else can we make it? Oh, and then I would tell her like, oh, it's your picture. It's absolutely perfect because art is not supposed to be perfect. It is just yours.
Yeah.
Right?
Have you read the book? I have a couple of things I want to say, but first I want to start. Have you read either of the books? There's one that's called Beautiful Oops, and there's one, oh, what's the other one?
No, that sounds like an amazing
There's
book.
a second one. They're geared toward kids. I was an art docent in my kids' classes when they were really young in elementary school. And it talks about this idea that it doesn't have to be an air quotes mistake, right? It's just that wasn't what you planned. And so now how do you change the plan to adapt to it, right? And helping kids understand it doesn't have to, it's going to take a lot of practice for the thing you see in your head to be able to come to life in whatever medium
Yeah.
you're using. So I would definitely recommend that book. The other piece that came up for me as you were talking is kind of this tie-in. We already had this conversation around confidence versus ego. And I feel like when you are approaching creativity from a place of ego, even if you aren't feeling like, oh, I'm the shit and I'm just gonna like make everybody look less than, if you are still moving from a place of that validation from that external source rather
Yeah.
than seeing it as, this is just something that I want to express, this is something that's just for me, one allows connection, the other doesn't, right? When you're moving at it from an ego place, you you can't find that connection with people, whereas when it's
Mhm.
something that you recognize just is yours, it's how you want to express and show up in the moment, it does allow for connection, right? This is why your daughters are finding this
Mhm.
piece together, because they're approaching it now not so much as comparison to themselves or to each other or to someone else, right? They're just
Yeah.
enjoying it for what it is.
Yeah. That comparison word
Mm.
is a word that I literally want to eradicate from the world. If there was a way that I could like say, quit comparing and let's just delete this word, I am all for it. I hate that. I don't say hate a lot, but when I say that word, I literally hate when I see people comparing themselves to somebody else that is nothing like them. And maybe they have this like, I want to be like them, but then I think about all the layers of what emotional trauma do they have? What intellect do they have? Like, are we just comparing ourselves in that one specific area? Because if you really want to be like somebody, you got to take it all, right?
Exactly.
So that word just came up, and I was like, we have to unpack that in a future episode,
Oh,
please.
for
Yes.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
The last story that I want to share, I think will kind of wrap up our conversation nicely and bring together all these pieces that we're talking about. So I already mentioned that I love to sing. It brings me so much joy. And within the context of my life journey, I was trying to be something I wasn't, right? I was in this high
Mm.
demand religion that expected conformity from me. And I had to show up that way in all of my life, including how I sang. So I ended up singing in this non denominational Christian choir that does fundraising work. I love it. And the person I stood next to uh, was also a voice teacher, is also a voice teacher. And I asked if we could, if I could start taking lessons. And during my first or second voice lesson with him, he said, because he was asking, what do I want to get out of our time together and all of that. And let me say my piece. And then came back and said, here's what I hope that we get out of our time together. I hope that we find Kylie's voice, because right now we're just getting choir Kylie, who's made to blend in, who's made to just be supportive, especially because I sang harmony a lot of the time, from like second soprano to first tenor, right? Anything that was required of me, I would just be a chameleon and change my voice to be whatever it needed to be. And it took a number of years and voice lessons. I think I added up a total of 100 voice lessons over, I'd say, an 8-year period of time for me to finally be able to send a recording to my voice teacher. And I just did this last month or earlier this month. I was dinking around cleaning and I was singing along to a song that I know well. And I was like, I'm actually really enjoying how this feels and sounds. I'm going to record it. I recorded it, sent it off to him. And I've actually gone back and listened to it a number of times. And I typically don't like to go back and listen to recordings of myself singing because historically there's been all the different things I could have done differently, all the things that weren't perfect, right? And as I listened to this recording, it wasn't perfect. There were a couple of spots where I was slightly flat, and it worked with the emotion of that particular phrase in the song, right? And so it wasn't perfect, but it was perfectly done in that moment, right? And it was the first time where I listened to something and I didn't want to go change anything. And what my voice teacher came back and said to me was like, the freedom that I hear in your voice is incredible. So what I would encourage people to look at is, if you aren't feeling like creativity has a place in your life, number one, I would say change that. There's so much that we can gain from the creative process, whatever the method is, whether it's arts, whether it's performing, writing, cooking, spreadsheets, like whatever it is that feeds you, put more of that in your life. And then if it is something that you've been working on for a while, if it's not representing you authentically, make that the next goal, to find a way to get rid of the comparison, throw away the idea of perfect, and really hone in on the authentic expression and joy that you gain from doing that thing.
Absolutely. I just want to also remind people that when we connect with the creative parts of ourselves, we're tapping into areas of our own brain that invites healing. And I know it sounds so weird to say that, but when I'm talking about healing in the mental space, if you're, I'm going to reduce my stress. I'm going to find fulfillment and joy in that moment. I'm going to foster the connection, whether it is that you are doing something in a group or not. And it's, I wish I had Tammy here. Maybe that will, I'll circle back here, but she always leads her art with a healing piece in the beginning because she believes that when you are expressing yourself, you're connecting with who you are in that moment, no matter what it is you're expressing. Me, it's my cooking and my digital creations, or putting together outfits for my kids or making costumes. Yours is singing. It could be your spreadsheets, all these things we're putting joy. And when you're spending moments in joy, things that fulfill you, the reduction of stress and anxiety in that moment brings so much healing.
Yes.
And empowerment. I really believe that when you're done with that creative piece, it leads to empowerment. And that empowerment leads to trusting yourself over time.
Mm.
And even, I mean, I'm almost thinking too, like if somebody's like, I'm almost going towards this loneliness thing that I'm also seeing out there, creativity, getting out there, joining class, go do pottery, go sign up for that art class, sign up for that dance class.
Yeah.
Right? Whatever it is that makes your soul feel good. If you're feeling lonely too, like that's another piece of connection. And there's something to be said about connecting over a similar shared emotion.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right.
Yeah.
Well, those are definitely some great takeaways for our conversation today. And we hope that you have been listening to your own intuition, to what sparks need to be fanned into flames. Yes, I like metaphors.
I
And
love that one. That's a good one.
we want to hear from you. So, leave
Yeah.
a comment on our video or on the podcast, rate, like, subscribe, send us, there are many ways that you can contact us. So I'll let Kristen talk about those because I'm not sure I remember all the details.
Yeah, if you're watching us on YouTube, definitely our link tree has all of our links. You can leave us a voice note. You can send a request to be on our show. You can also email us, info@permissionslipgranted.com. Our website is permissionslipgranted.com. You can always connect with us on there. And we also have a community that we just launched recently. So if you want to connect on a different level with other people who follow us and subscribe to us, go ahead and join the community on our website. So yeah.
Awesome. All right.
Awesome. Thank you. We'll see you next time.
Sounds good. Bye.
Bye.
If you loved today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and leave us a review. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. And as always, we'd love to hear your thoughts. Reach out on social media or through our website, permissionslipgranted.com. We hope this conversation really sparks something in you, whether it's a fresh idea or new perspective, or just a reminder that you are a creative being. Until next time, take care, and remember, you've got this.